Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Azzakye here, bringing to you the Dynasty season story preview of the upcoming season for Conqueror's Blade. I'm going to be doing a little bit of dramatized reading of the story preview, and then we'll get to watch the season, well, the trailer for the video for the new season as well. Without further ado, let us have a read. Western Maoyang. Caravans sometimes make their way here, which is utterly bewildering to the residents of Mayang. For what unearthly reason have they made their way to this barren desert land, and where they are going? The years went by, and more merchant caravans made their way to Mayang. With them, both big and small cities sprung up upon the cold dunes. The people here had also learned that the caravans came from Longting, a region within which the affluent and powerful Huan Dynasty resided. The people of Huan were said to be clad in fine clothing and have an abundance of food. Some even went so far as to claim that the buildings of Hongjing, Huan's capital, were made of pure gold and luxurious gems. That's when gazing up Haojin from afar, one can see the sunlight being reflected to dazzling effects. It's going to be a long read, guys. Those merchants went east for trade. Over time, plenty of valuables from both the west and east were transported. This road that ran from Hongjin through Maoyang and slithered across the borderlands became known as the Golden Road. Naturally, as the Golden Road grew in recognition, brigands and bandits took an increased interest in Maoyang. They killed without mercy and attacked any caravans they came across. They stole and plundered, and those that resisted lost their lives. Later on, the people of Maoyang laid eyes upon a mighty army from the east. Upon their banners flew the symbol of Guian. To protect the road and the people of the desert, Guian's emperor built desert fortresses in Maoyang to withstand the bandits. He also established a unit of soldiers which he garrisoned here. These loyal soldiers patrolled Maoyang day and night with weapons and crossbow in hand. They destroyed any bandits they could find. They even forced the mighty Taolian Empire's soldiers They even forced the mighty Taolian Empire's army on the retreat. While protecting the caravans, they also brought peace to the citizens of Maoyang. However, the peace won't be lasting forever. At first, the bandits were terrified of Guian's soldiers, but with time, the dynasty's might waned, and the Taolian Empire's soldiers loomed like vultures. Bandit activity also increased greatly. Before long, Maoyang was once again in the storm's eye. At first, Guian's soldiers garrisoned in the desert fortresses would ride forth and drive away rebels and the warriors of Taolian. With time, Guian soldiers were seen more and more seldom, as were supply from the dynasty that the soldiers may need. Instead, the Taolian Empire's raid became more and more rampant. The news that Guian's army had withdrawn from Maoyang to Longting spread like wildfire. Bandits that had bidden their time in silence once again prowled the land, at least until another group of soldiers bearing the Guian dynasty's banners rode forth from the desert fortresses. People saw as the white-haired soldiers beat back the rampaging bandits and realized something. They had never left. They had left their homelands and spent decades in the barren desert. They left their homelands in their youth. While their hair had grayed, they have yet to return. The winter of 1064 was one of the harshest in memory. Caravans from the west said that it was the coldest winter for at least 1,000 years, and that countless had frozen to death or starved. The Taurian soldiers came to Moyang before the winter. The Taurians had severed the supply lines between Longting and Qian forces stationed in Moyang years ago. Qian's forces were left to fend for themselves. While without support, they fought until the bitter end, never relenting in their duty. Yet facing a force many times their size, they were forced to abandon one fortress after another. The people of Maoyang knew that when billowing smoke rose upon the horizon, another group of brave Guian warriors had been lost to the sands. During this winter, the Taurians devoured more and more land, and the Guian soldiers were all forced into their final stronghold, Linwu Fortress. But to these brave Guian warriors, the desert itself was more lonely than this last bastion. The soldiers had paid in years, and had been rewarded by one token after another of their dead brothers. Yet they still believed that the ground beneath them belonged to Qian, and that as long as they stood tall, the Taurians would not step foot upon the grounds of Linwood Fortress. My warriors, brave warriors of Qian, we left our homelands for the barren lands of Maoyang. We have defended the desert fortresses from the Taurian invaders and prying bandits. The Emperor himself tasked us with guarding Maoyang, and for many a year we kept the peace. We rid it of scum and ruffians. We are valiant warriors of Guian, and we fight for as long as draw breath. Many of our ranks have fallen to arrows, our souls now resting upon their souls now resting above the clouds. Others were felled by swords, and have fallen into eternal slumber. Those dead become spirits. Our brethren's heroic spirit remain at our side. The Taurian forces stand our doorstep once more, waiting to attack Maoyang. Men, what say you? Do we yield, or do we fight? We fight! We fight! We fight! The wizened soldiers clasped tight their weapon, their ear-splitting cries reverberating within Linwood Fortress, before getting long in the deep night. Before getting lost in the deep night. Passing caravans have often, I believe that's supposed to say often, passing caravans have often asked these veteran warriors why they do not return to their homelands, why they waste their effort protecting Maoyang. This is their answer. The land beneath our feet is Guian soil. Do you see that flag up there? It is Guian's flag, and this is the gate to Guian. Were we to retreat, the Taurian warriors would be within Guian itself, and their weapons aimed at our wives and children. It is the people of Guian that pay us. We guard not the Emperor's realm, but the people's. While they all boast grey hair and broken armor, they all stand straight. The battle had finally come. On that fateful night, smoke billowed strongly in the last bastion of Moyang. A very nice read, actually. It's got a lot of... it tells you a lot, really.